I am honored to be with you today. First, I would like to thank Carolyn, who was very fast in inviting me, as well as ADLA organization and its members for the invitation. I also want to thank Bishop Guy for his great hospitality and conversation on last night, and his openness to me sharing with you in the Southwest California Senate in this way and for this occasion. I am truly blessed to have traveled with me the president for Chicago's African Descent Lutheran Association. But she is also, as I understand it, the first African American spouse for any member of the Conference of Bishops in the ELCA, my wife, LaShonda Curry. I am truly grateful for all of the relationships that I've formed over the last 10 years that started at an ADLA convention here in the Senate. I bring you greetings on behalf of the awesome Metro Chicago Senate. I proudly represent your 88,000 siblings, worshiping in 185 congregations and new starts on the other side of the U.S. It is an honor to be here on the other side. Growing up, my mother could stand from the fourth floor of our apartment building and see where the children would be playing. And like clockwork, she would say, Hannah, Merm, Sharon, Kanina, Yaakov, the Held, the Cable Code, Shartek, get in here. We hated it. Me and my 10 siblings would have to put our head down, and we would do that track towards the fourth floor of our apartment because the street lights came on. My mother knew as a single parent that things got dangerous when evening came. So I find it unique that in our gospel text today, the text says, when evening came, Jesus said to the disciples, let's cross to the other side. Because of my youth, I'm thinking they couldn't cross troubled waters during the day. Truly, you've had a when evening came moment. You know, when evening comes, it gets dark. Things get dangerous when it's dark. Anybody ever had some dark moments in your life? Our text says that when evening came, Jesus said to the disciples, let's cross to the other side. And I began to think that this is very prophetic for this day and time. For we as a Senate, we as a denomination, we as congregations, we as a country, it's time for us to cross to the other side of racism. Cross to the other side of sexism. Cross to the other side of discrimination. The other side of doubt. The other side of isolation, the other side of conflict, the other side of what we're familiar with, the other side of anger, denial, and fear. Today, we celebrate and we remember the civil rights era, which is characterized as a time of civil unrest, because African Americans and the Coalition of the Willing made a decision to cross to the other side of racial injustice. Evening had come, and evening's name was Jim Crow. Evening had come, and it was economic and political disenfranchisement. Evening had come, unwarranted violence and mass incarceration. When evening comes, God has a way of stirring individuals. God has a way of saying, let's go to the other side. When evening comes, God has a way of stirring communities to say enough is enough. Let's go to the other side. When evening comes, God has a way of stirring denominations and stirring cities and stirring states and stirring nations and saying, let's move to the other side. Because as the song said earlier, on the other side is peace. I got your theme, and I was really excited about the theme. Stirred, but not shaken. Shaken, but not broken. I was excited to find a way to honor Dr. King by matching the theme in the scripture with my expository preaching style. So you should have saw me. Stirred, but not shaken. Shaken, but not broken. Oh, that'll preach anyhow, anyway. So you can imagine me on Google, looking up the phrase stirred, not shaken, because it sounds so familiar. And boy, was I shocked when I found that Google said you got it wrong. It's shaken, not stirred. You see, this is a catchphrase of how James Bond likes his martinis made. That wasn't going to work. So I checked a little further, and there was a writer named Harry Aries who did a critique on James Bond's martinis. And in his critique, he lifted up a definition. He said, stirring, imagine a cup of coffee and a spoon. He says, stirring starts within and moves to the outside. The object that is stirred must be entered into by an external force. I said, now that's what I'm looking for. Harry goes on to say that shaken is a process that is totally external. So in my own mind, I'm thinking, it's the stirring on the inside of me that allows me to have peace in the midst of a storm. In 1956, God began to stir the heart of a relatively unknown Southern preacher by the name of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He rose to national recognition for his leadership of the Montgomery bus boycott. He told us to go to the other side. And in our gospel text today, Jesus tells the disciples, let's go to the other side. But before we can do that, you first got to get in the boat. And if you're going to get in the boat, I'm going to ask that you remain in the boat. Our exposed ceilings are intentional. For our ceilings resemble the base of a boat. So the boat itself is a metaphor for community, a metaphor for congregation. So you can't go to the other side if you ain't got no transportation. So in order to go to the other side, you got to get in the boat. And if you're going to get in the boat, I ask that you stay in the boat. The boat forces us to communicate with one another. The boat forces us to realize that we don't agree with everything. It forces us to share tight spaces. But boats are designed to venture into troubled waters. This text is interesting because the disciples are in troubled waters because they listen to Jesus. Let's go to the other side. Okay. My point is, sometimes you're right where you're supposed to be. Our churches are designed in a way to venture into troubled waters. While Jesus is in the stern, the boat begins to rock. These are seasoned fishermen. A rocky boat shouldn't be new to them. Another point is that this body of water, the Lake of Galilee or the Sea of Galilee as it's referred to sometimes, is in between some large mountains that are 4,000 to 5,000 feet high. The coolness of the mountain meets the hot air of the valley, and it whips some stuff up on the water. You could be on the mountaintop, yet see turbulence in the valley. You can be on the mountaintop, yet experience the turbulence in the valley. So the boat begins to rock by an external force. It's a good thing that they remembered that Christ was with them. Christ was in the stern. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't know nothing about boats, so if I get this part wrong, I'm from Chicago, Midwest, never owned a boat before. But my assumption is the stern is on the inside. You got me? I imagine he wasn't sleeping on the rail somehow. So if Jesus was asleep on the inside, the disciples goes down to where Jesus is on the inside and says, Jesus, we're perishing, don't you care? Now the text says that he calmed the storm. Now I imagine that Jesus got up from the inside of the boat, went to the outside and said, peace, be still. Now you missed it, so I'm going to rewind a little bit, and it goes back to the definition that I found when we were talking about martinis. Stirred starts from the inside. And when you stir, you work your way to the outside. It is what's on the inside that allows me to have peace to ignore everything that's happening on the outside. Oh, surely you've seen that mother whose child is going through difficult times and you not know it. It's because what's going on the inside is giving her peace to not respond to what's going on in the outside. Surely you've been shocked to know that one of your leaders or congregations have been having moments going on. It's because of the stirring. It's because what's going on the inside that allows us to have peace in the midst of the storm and what's happening on the outside. From the inside to the outside, stirred but not shaken. It's what's inside of us that gives us peace, not what's happening on the outside. Here's the good news of the text. Jesus and the disciples made it to the other side. The boat was shaken, but not broken. The disciples was nervous. It was shaken, but it wasn't broke. They made it to the other side. The disciples' faith was shaken, not broken. They made it to the other side. This is good news because, yes, I know we still got work to do. Yes, Jesus will continue to witness brokenness in the valley, but they made it to the other side. Yes, there's more injustice to uncover, but they made it to the other side. Thanks to the efforts of Dr. Martin Luther King, we've got some things to celebrate. The end of legal segregation. Now, I know we've got more work to do in this country, but we can celebrate that as it relates to this, he made it to the other side. Civil Rights Act of 1964. Now, I know we still got a lot to work on, but we can celebrate that he made it to the other side as it relates to this issue. The Voting Rights Act of 1965. God knows we got more issues to deal with voting rights, but we can celebrate on today because as it relates to this issue, he made it to the other side. Immigration Nationality Service Act of 1965, the Fair Housing Act of 1968, made it to the other side. So we celebrate Dr. King today, not because there's no more work to do. We celebrate Dr. King because the work that was done, he made it to the other side. In closing, I want to share a personal experience I had one day watching television that I think demonstrates the shaken but not broken part of your theme. It was a Tuesday morning, January 12th, 2010. And I was surfing through the channels, and what caught me was what I thought was gospel music. It was some gospel music in a foreign tongue. And that's what caught my attention, but the camera wasn't coming in focused well enough. And when it did, on the television, I could see a large group of black people celebrating. The celebration seemed to be taking place in a remote mountain. The people, when they came into view, appeared malnourished and dirty. Everyone was dancing and singing in a language, again, that I couldn't comprehend. I remember feeling like this was some of those feed the starving children exploitation videos. So I turned the channel. But then there they were again. I turned the channel, and there they were again. I began to realize that every channel was somehow covering this group or this place. I later learned that I was watching the aftermath of an earthquake on January 11th in Haiti. The video clip I happened to catch was a group of survivors who had made it to the other side of the village. Despite the devastation, they was having a celebration of worship in a cave. Cameras caught them worshiping God, celebrating God, knowing that there would be work to do, knowing that there was lives lost. They were taking a moment in the midst of despair to give God praise. The next 12 days, there will be violent aftershocks. Death toll from 100,000 to 200,000. They are still rebuilding today. The video clip that I witnessed and the support that would soon follow from all over the world would demonstrate that the people of Haiti were shaken by an external force, an earthquake, but they were definitely not broken. Shaken, but not broken. Stirred, but not shaken. Amen.